Hello, Fantastic Beasts fans! So far, we know almost nothing about Grindelwald's family history before his summer of love in Godric's Hollow with Albus Dumbledore. Or do we? Could the filmmakers have inserted some extremely subtle clues into the Nurmengard set to give us just a hint of what's to come in FB3? I'm Susan Chapal with Fantastic Secrets Behind Fantastic Beasts to bring you the clues. Join me and other Fantastic Beasts fans here on the Beast Chaser Forum as we uncover the secrets, discover what's coming first, and play along with Rowling's newest game. And make sure you hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification so you'll be notified when videos post and won't miss out on the next clues.
This theory is in partnership with Sebastien Bartolo of @WikiHarryPotter. It's his eagle eye that caught the crucial elements in the film that we then researched to form this theory. If you're not already following him, check out his Twitter or the WikiHarryPotter site, links below, which provides English and French-speaking fans everything they need to know about Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts. In August, Sebastien asked me if I'd noticed the coat of arms in Nurmengard. I had not. He pointed out this one, which can be seen clearly in the Aurelius Dumbledore revelation scene with Grindelwald and Credence at the very end of the film. Together, we looked at what was revealed of the setting in more detail and discovered that a coat of arms, or something like it, in various forms seemed to be on most or all of the window bays. See, here, and here. Which is certainly interesting, but is it anything more than set decoration? A castle, after all, as Nurmengard is called, is expected to have suits of armor and banners displaying coats of arms. However, I think it's interesting to note that Nurmengard was not called a castle until Crimes of Grindelwald. In Harry Potter, it's simply called a fortress. Hermione even says, when it is first introduced, that Grindelwald built it to house his enemy. Sounds like something a lot newer than a castle. As Sebastien reminds us, Rowling most likely initially named Nurmengard as a play on Nuremberg, the German city which was the site of many Nazi rallies and then, after the war, became the location of some of the most famous war crime trials. As Sebastien puts it, in both cases, these places symbolized great power before turning against its owner. So why would Rowling switch Nurmengard from a fortress and a prison to a castle? After all, doesn't a fortress that Grindelwald built himself hold greater symbolic power of his personality and goals? Perhaps, however, Rowling decided to emphasize something else about Grindelwald, something to do with his ancestry. Sebastien further pointed out two more details that increased the importance of the coat of arms. We've talked a lot about the large book, Celestial Anomalies, that I believe may point to a reason for the trip to Brazil. But Sebastien picked out another book on Mina Lima's site that not only contains Grindelwald's slogan, "For the greater good," but the book cover also repeats the chevron-like stripes on the wall. In a prior video, I'd pointed out this wall pattern and theorized that it was linked to Rosier and the Phoenix. I was wrong about that, but perhaps only about which family it linked the Phoenix to, as we'll discuss in a bit. Then, although it's not seen in the film, in an image of this room shown prior to the release of this film, Sebastien noticed this curious statue standing just to the side of where Grindy tells Credence his true name. Sebastien pointed out how closely the statue seems to match the knight on the book. Not only does the book cover repeat that zigzag design, but the knight's shield as well. So, we have the coat of arms, the knight's shield, the castle walls, and the book cover all repeating this design. Surely this is enough hints to tell us this is not merely cosmetic touches. Could the pattern be an important symbol of a noble family's heraldry? Grindelwald's. When Sebastien first pointed out what appears to be coat of arms to me, I thought the design here was possibly an egg, as in the world egg, an important concept in both Gnosticism and Hermeticism, symbolizing creation, regeneration, and enlightenment, which is linked to alchemy. We've already touched on these concepts several times in prior videos, and I thought the pattern might be the snake winding around the primordial egg. Sebastien further pointed out the resemblance to some similar imagery shown in the Harry Potter films, as seen here in the Great Hall. Unfortunately, these coats of arms are just not clear enough for us to tell exactly what they are. I hope we'll see more as new images for FB3 start releasing, and if so, I'll definitely revisit in a future video. However, what is clear is this zigzag pattern. So what does it mean in traditional heraldry? At first, I thought this pattern was a chevron and did a lot of research on that, but then realized that if this castle is in Austria, it would make sense that the heraldry would be related to that area. And that's when I hit on this Zurich armorial, with one holding a very similar pattern as a background. Through more searches on heraldry in Germanic and Austrian states, I came up with these. But when I researched the Nuremberg area, I found this pattern to be quite common on some of the older manor homes as well. This concentration of this symbol in the Nuremberg area probably reflects the Nuremberg coat of arms, which I'll cover in a bit. According to yourarmature.com, this shield pattern is called a berry indented, and according to heraldryandcrests.com, it signifies fire. Now, look at the knight's helmet on the book cover. Notice the type of open bar, as we've seen on these helmets here and here. And notice the feathery thing on top, called a crest. According to internationalheraldry.com, an open bar, like the knight on the book is wearing, was reserved for the highest of nobles or royalty, and the fancier the crest also signified the status of the noble wearing it. Thus, this knight is definitely in the upper echelons. Could samples like these have inspired Mina Lima's design? A year before Crimes of Grindelwald was released, I did a series of videos exploring the Mina Lima circus poster and found that almost every one of the characters they had pictured could be found in a real-life historical circus or freak show act. Those characters changed once the filming took over, but it shows that Mina Lima based their designs on research. I think the same is true here, and what Mina Lima is hinting, we believe, is that Grindelwald comes from an ancient and very noble family whose heraldry invokes fire. But the flame pattern is not the only heraldic fire symbol brought to life in this castle room. The phoenix was often pictured on a family's coat of arms, usually on the crest, and represented resurrection. Getting beyond the heraldry, there is one other symbol of fire in this brief glimpse of Nurmengard. In an earlier video, I thought this huge greenish piece of furniture might be a credence cupboard, a cupboard for holding the sacraments during the church's holy mass or communion. However, while looking up all this flame heraldry around Nuremberg, I discovered something else rather interesting. In Nuremberg Castle, in the Emperor's Chamber, is this unusual piece. Notice the greenish tint. In another Nuremberg historic home is this one. I looked them up, and these are medieval green tiled stoves. There are numerous examples throughout Europe, as you can see here and here. This tower-like structure on top helped with the radiant heating. An old castle would definitely need a good source of heating, and it's another fire element. Finally, notice the resemblance between the wavy lines on the Mina Lima Night book and the same pattern on the vaults in the French Ministry of Magic family records and on Mina Lima's design for the Archive of Magic. It's all the same, and it's all associated with family heritage. This room is all about fire, and the associations tell us something important about Grindelwald's ancestry. We're guessing that his ancestors were either among the Muggle nobility or the wizardry pureblood, or both. In background information for Harry Potter that Rowling released on Pottermore in 2015, she said, Though hotly denied by subsequent generations, there is ample evidence to suggest that the first Lucius Malfoy was an unsuccessful aspirant to the hand of Elizabeth I, and some wizarding historians allege that the Queen's subsequent opposition to marriage was due to a jinx placed upon her by the thwarted Malfoy. Nearly Headless Nick was also a member of the royal court, as was Merlin in King Arthur's. So although Lupin said in Deathly Hallows that there were no princes in the wizarding world, that does not mean that individual witches and wizards did not mingle with Muggle royal families. And two, purebloods are like the magical equivalents of nobility. Perhaps Grindelwald's noble family symbol was flames because they had magical powers linked to fire, much as Grindelwald has already shown us. Throughout both the film and the screenplay, Grindelwald is constantly associated with fire, from the smoke in the skull to the loyalty flames of the amphitheater and the flaming demons who chase the others throughout the graveyard. His power seems to manifest through fire. He kills Lita among a swirl of flames. A long time ago, I did a video on Modesty's chant, which represents 4 deaths by each of the 4 elements, and speculated that we'd see one of those deaths she mentioned in each film. Which number 3, gonna watch her burn? Which number 4, flogging take a turn? So far, we are 2 for 2. Mary Lou was beaten as if by a stick, and we watched Lita die among the flames. Fire seems to be a definite theme throughout Crimes of Grindelwald, and a lot of it linked to him. I don't think it's mere coincidence that a flame pattern is portrayed on a knight shield mimicking a coat of arms in a room with a flaming wall pattern where a phoenix comes to life. And all of this after a scene dominated by flames. In one of the earliest scenes of the film, in the British Ministry of Magic, Gusman says that the purebloods believe they have a birthright to rule not only our world, but the non-magic world as well. This is a key theme for the whole series. Purebloods, nobles, royals, the belief that one set of people is born to rule over another is being explored in its magical version. Going back to the knight figure on the book Sebastien spotted, as mentioned earlier, the helmet style and plumes indicate a person of very high rank. In fact, this type of helmet seems to be worn almost exclusively by royalty. Furthermore, the coat of arms found in the Zurich Memorial are specifically from noble families of the Holy Roman Empire. And, as Sebastien points out, this statue's arm is raised in a manner not only similar to the Roman salute, but also the Nazis. The Third Reich was the Third Empire, with the Holy Roman Empire being first, and the German Empire of the 19th century the second. And guess where the Holy Roman Empire was largely based? Nuremberg. The imperial castle at Nuremberg was one of the seats of the Holy Roman Empire. That stove I showed earlier was in the emperor's chamber. While the Holy Roman Empire had no fixed capital, Nuremberg became the location where many important legislative assemblies were held. It was because of this close association with the Holy Roman Empire that Hitler chose it as the location for many of the important Nazi rallies. Here is the coat of arms for the imperial city of Nuremberg. It brings together the 2 major symbols we've been discussing throughout this video, the berry indent and the eagle, or in our case, the phoenix. However, here is another coat of arms from Nuremberg that I find even more intriguing. A crowned person shown in the form of a royal eagle. The eagle is an ancient symbol of royalty and power which may have originated with the Hittites of central Anatolia. The Byzantine Empire, then the Seljuk Turks, the Holy Roman Empire, the German, the Austrian, and then the Nazis all employed a double-headed eagle. I don't think it's mere coincidence, then, that we see a double-headed bird on the cover of the screenplay for Crimes of Grindelwald. Perhaps this magical version is a double-headed phoenix. Sebastien and I think it very possible that these hints of the Holy Roman Empire are going to be reflected in a magical counterpoint. Grindelwald probably believes in some sort of golden age of wizardry, when, for a time, Muggles were under the control of magicals, ruled by wizarding purebloods. If so, Grindelwald would be a direct descendant of this magical bloodline, perhaps the inheritor to the now defunct throne. And this book and this knight and statue give hints as to his mission to bring back this golden age. Even his clothes show his nobility. Grindy sees Credence as some way, somehow, closely connected and crucial to bringing this wizarding empire back to life. Could Credence be a descendant of the wizarding Holy Roman Empire, embodying the coming together of both these symbols on the Nuremberg shield, both the fire and the phoenix? Is he the crowned human eagle brought to life, one who was promised to bring back the golden age of wizardry that Grindelwald longs for? And as such, is he a member of Grindelwald's family? Shortly after Crimes of Grindelwald came out, Bestiary and I released a theory that Credence was an homunculus, an alchemical child created by Albus and Gellert during their summer of love. In that video, I showed a couple of images of the traditional alchemical homunculus in his alembic, like this and this. But I missed one very key image, one that the sharp-eyed Sebastien caught, look here, at the book cover for Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts, a spellbinding guide to the films. On Newt Scamander's side, right there, on the cover, is an homunculus. True, this one seems a bit skeletal, but it's definitely a person in an alembic. Credence, if indeed Grindelwald's offspring, is sure to discover the strange and glorious truth of who he is. Glorious truth sounds rather elevated, doesn't it? Like nobility, or royal, or a messiah foretold to save the wizarding world. Everything Sebastien and I have covered so far regarding Grindelwald's heritage has been hinted at through subtext, the subtext of the symbols in the set decoration. But there was one crucial bit of action that took place on screen, that the whole scene had been building to, and concealed a crucial secret: the flaming transformation of Credence's check to the phoenix. Grindelwald tells Credence and the viewer about the Dumbledore family legend of being able to call a phoenix when in need. It all seems nicely designed to prove that Credence is indeed a Dumbledore. But I want you to notice something important. It is only when Grindelwald takes the chick in his hand that it turns into the phoenix. Watch carefully.
It is your birthright, my boy.
Is this a classic rolling sleight of hand, pointing us in the direction of what she wants us to believe while hiding the truth? A twist hinted at by the symbolism of the room that surrounds us. Grindelwald's family and Grindelwald himself are associated with flames, and in those hard-to-see pictures, perhaps with the phoenix itself, it is Grindelwald who turns the chick through flame into an adult phoenix in a matter of seconds, the opposite of its natural progression, as we saw in Chamber of Secrets. I believe it is very possible that this familial link to the phoenix is part of what brought Albus and Gellert together as boys, and perhaps that inner flame was strengthened with their blood pact. I don't think it's a mere coincidence that Credence's chick turns into a flaming phoenix in a room decorated with flaming heraldry. This room is all about fire, and perhaps the Grindelwald family magical power of fire. Sebastien and I think this scene is carefully constructed to hint at an underlying clue. In this room of Grindelwald's ancestral home, which reflects his family's connection to the golden age of wizardry which Grindelwald seeks to recreate, and displays his family's possible magical connection to fire and the phoenix, Grindelwald gives Credence a wand for the first time. which Credence uses to shoot a fireball so powerful it knocks off the side of a mountain. Grindelwald just enabled Credence's natural fire power, passed on from father to son. Earlier, when Credence asked what Grindelwald wants from him, Grindelwald said, "From you, nothing. For you, everything I never had," like a father to a son. Grindelwald transforms the bird to offer Credence and the viewer conclusive proof as to who he is. His words are Rowling's perfect sleight of hand, focusing us on the Dumbledore name rather than the clues she has hidden regarding Grindelwald's ancestry. But the secret is that it is possibly Grindelwald's fire power which transformed Credence's chick into a phoenix and links Credence himself to Grindelwald's family. If we're right, we can't wait to see who will be cast to portray ancient or contemporary Grindelwald kin in FB3. I can't thank Sebastien enough for pointing out all these wonderful details he caught in Nurmengard. Be sure you check him out at @WikiHarryPotter. Also, be sure to check back soon because I have 2 more videos in the works that spring from this one. So, what do you think? Will we get to meet some of Grindelwald's ancestors or his parents? Do you think that skull may be one of them? I do. Please share your thoughts in the comments.
Also, please check out my new fan shop on Amazon for books and Funko Pops and wands and all things Fantastic Beasts.